Om Namo Narayana, welcome back. Today we are reading the Aitareya Upanishad. As you see, I'm now doing the setup for my live streams. I think the sound quality on this it's different, but it's better. So hopefully you don't mind. You'll be seeing this headset a lot more. Uh, as we work our way through the Upanishads, this will be we're in our 60s now, so this is number 64 out of 108, which is very exciting. There is three parts to this. So, part one. In the beginning, this was but the absolute self alone. There was nothing else whatsoever that winked. He thought, let me create the worlds. He created these worlds. Ambas, Maritzi, Mara, Appa. That which is beyond heaven is Ambas. Heaven is its support. The sky is Maritzi, the earth is Mara, the worlds that are below are the Appa. He thought, these then are the worlds. Let me create the protectors of the world. Having gathered up a lump of the human form from the water itself, he gave shape to it. He deliberated with regard to him, the Virat of the human form. As the Virat was being deliberated on, its mouth parted, just as an egg does. From the mouth emerged speech. From the speech came fire. The nostrils parted. From the nostrils came out the sense of smell. From the sense of smell came Vayu, air. The two eyes parted. From the eyes emerged the sense of sight. From the sense of sight came the sun. The two ears parted. From the ears came the sense of hearing. From the sense of hearing came the directions. The skin emerged. From the skin came out hair, and the sense of touch associated with hair. From the sense of touch came the herbs and trees, and then the heart took shape. From the heart issued the internal organ, the mind. From the internal organ came the moon. The navel parted. From the navel came out the organ of ejection. From the organ of ejection issued death. The seat of the procreative organ parted. From that came the procreative organ. From the procreative organ came out water. These deities that had been created fell into this vast ocean. He subjected that Virat to hunger and thirst. And they said to him, the Creator, provide an abode for us, staying where we can eat food. For them God brought a cow. They said, this one is certainly not adequate for us. For them he then brought a horse. And they said, this one is certainly not adequate for us. For them he brought a man. And they said, this one is well formed. Man indeed is a creation of God himself. And to them God said, enter into your respective abodes. Fire entered into the mouth, taking the form of the organ of speech. Air entered into the nostrils, assuming the form of the sense of smell. The sun entered into the eyes as the sense of sight. The directions entered into the ears by becoming the sense of hearing. The herbs and trees entered into the skin in the form of hair and the sense of touch. The moon entered into the heart in the shape of the mind. Death entered in the navel in the form of apana, that being the vital energy that presses down, and water entered into the limb of generation in the form of semen. To him hunger and thirst said, provide for us some abode. To them God said, I provide your livelihood among these very gods. I make you share in their portions. Therefore, when oblation is taken up for any deity whatsoever, hunger and thirst became verily sharers with that deity. God thought, this then are the senses, and the deities of the senses. Let me create food for them. He deliberated with regard to the water. From the water thus brooded over evolved a form. The form that emerged was verily food. This food that was created turned back and attempted to run away. He tried to take it up with speech. He did not succeed in taking it up through speech. If he had succeeded in taking it up with the speech, then one would have become contented merely by talking of food. He tried to grasp the food with the sense of smell. He did not succeed in grasping it by smelling. If he had succeeded in grasping it by smelling, then everyone should have become contented merely by smelling food. He wanted to take up the food with the eye. He did not succeed in taking it up with the eye. If he had taken it up with the eye, then one would become satisfied by merely seeing food. He wanted to take up the food with the ear. He did not succeed in taking up with the ear. If he had taken it up with the ear, then one would have become satisfied simply by merely hearing the food. He wanted to take it up with the sense of touch. He did not succeed in taking it up with the sense of touch. If he had taken it up with the sense of touch, then he would have become satisfied merely by touching the food. He wanted to take it up with the mind. He did not succeed in taking it up with the mind. If he had taken it up with the mind, then one would have become satisfied by merely thinking of food. He wanted to take it up with the procreative organ. He did not succeed in taking it up with the procreative organ. If he had succeeded in taking it up with the procreative organ, then one would have become satisfied by merely ejecting food. He wanted to take it up with apana. He caught it. This is the devourer of food, that vital energy which is well known as dependent of food for its substance is this vital energy called apana. He thought, how indeed can it be there without me? Through which of the two ways shall I enter? If utterance is done by the organ of speech, smelling by the sense of smell, seeing by the eye, hearing by the ear, feeling by the sense of touch, thinking by the mind, the act of drawing in or pressing down by apana, ejecting by the procreative organ, then who or what am I? Having split up this very end, he entered through this door. The entrance is known as Vriddhiti. Hence it is delightful. Of him there are three abodes, three states of dream. This one is an abode, this one is an abode, this one is an abode. Being born, he manifested all the beings, for he did not speak or know of anything else. He realized this very Purusha as Brahman, the most pervasive. Thus he realized, I have realized this. Therefore his name is Idandra. He is verily known as Idandra, and although he is Idandra, they call him indirectly Indra. For the gods are verily fond of indirect names. Oh, the gods are surely verily fond of indirect names. Part 2. In man indeed is the soul first conceived. That which is the semen is extracted from all the limbs as their vigor. He holds that self of his in his own self. When he sheds it into his wife, then he procreates it. That is its first birth. That becomes non-different from the wife just as much as her own limb is. Therefore the fetus does not hurt her. She nourishes this self of his that has entered here in the womb. She, the nourisher, becomes fit to be nourished. The wife bears the embryo before the birth. The father protects the son at the very start, soon after the birth. Then he protects the son at the very beginning, just after birth. Thereby he protects his own self for the sake of the continuance of the worlds. For thus is the continuance of these worlds ensured. That is his second birth. This self of his, the son, is substituted by the father for the performance of virtuous deeds. Then this other self of his, that is the father of the son, having got his duties ended and having advanced in age, departs. As soon as he departs, he takes birth again. That is his son's third birth. This fact was stated by the seer in the mantra that says, even while lying in the womb I came to know of the birth of all the gods. 100 iron citadels held me down. Then like a hawk I forced my way through by dint of the knowledge of the self. Vamadeva said this while still lying in his mother's womb. He who had known thus had become identified with the Supreme and attained all desirable things, even here. And having then ascended higher up after the destruction of the body, he became immortal. In the world of the self, he became immortal. Thus ends Part 2, Part 3. What is it that we worship as the self? Which of the two is the self? Is it that by which one sees, or that by which one hears, or that by which one smells odor, or that by which one utters speech, or that by which one tastes the sweet or the sour? It is this heart and this mind that were stated earlier. It is sentience, rulership, secular knowledge, presence of mind, retentiveness, sense perception, fortitude, thinking, genius, mental suffering, memory, ascertainment, resolution, life activities, hankering, passion, and such others. All these verily are the names of consciousness. This one is the inferior Brahman, this is Indra, this is Prajapati, this is all these gods, and this is these five elements of earth, air, space, water, fire, and this is all these big creatures, together with these small ones, that are the procreators of others and preferable in pairs, to wit, those that are born of eggs of wombs of the moisture of the earth, horses, cattle, men, and elephants, and all the creatures that are which move or fly, and those which do not move. All these have consciousness as the giver of their reality. All these are impelled by consciousness. The universe has consciousness as its eye, and consciousness is its end. Consciousness is Brahman. Through this self that is consciousness, he ascended higher up from this world, and getting all desires fulfilled in that heavenly world, he became immortal. Oh, he became immortal, and thus ends this Upanishad. So the question you are likely asking yourself is, okay, is this the true story of the origin of the world? And I do have people put comments up uh, when I read these videos, and they're like, oh, you believe this garbage? I'm not going to answer yes or no, because for me personally, it doesn't really matter. There are numerous creation world stories within the Vedic canon. It doesn't matter to me. It is not irrelevant how Indra was created when I go to work every day for 8 hours. How is that relevant to you? What will that do to you other than give you some bit of information which you won't discuss with anyone at work? I am interested in personal spirituality and personal growth, and that's what I do on this channel. These arguments of, well, is this true or is this not? It's irrelevant. Now, does that mean it's a waste of time to read about this? No, because there are two ways to take this. And other Upanishads like this, or even the Ramayana or other books that you may have questions about. One is the surface story of this is the story of creation, yada yada, end of story. The other way is as a spiritual lesson. Farat, and we are more than just this and whatever, and there's something beyond the spiritual world. There's a mystical element to life, yada yada. That is the other way to interpret this. And that's a very personal interpretation. And I actually have said many, many times, yes, there are Upanishads and texts that will be hard to understand, and they may be totally unbelievable. But um, find something that you can relate to in them. Something. Whatever it is. Because there are lessons here once we dig underneath. So, as for what the lesson is or how to dig, like I said, that can get very personal, and I'm going to let you answer that. Instead, I'm just going to say thank you for watching the video. Thank you for joining me,